Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers should exercise caution when watching this program, as it may contain images of deceased persons.
But first, one of the most iconic figures in Noongar history is to be commemorated in the centre of Perth. Yagan is famously known as a warrior who played a key part in early resistance to British settlement. He was killed in 1833, his head then removed and preserved in a London museum.
Yagan's head was returned to Noongar country in 2010 after a group of Noongar elders fought for his return and his burial at Memorial Park in Swan Valley.
Now, as a part of the redevelopment of Perth City Centre, the state government has commissioned Yagan Square. Nikki Parkinson reports.
Right now, the area beside the Horseshoe Bridge is just a building site. But soon, Yagan Square will look something like this. It will feature a canopy with a lighting installation inspired by the ancient lakes of Perth, and a digital tower made up of 14 reeds representing the languages of Noongar Nation, and the amphitheatre to host events and performances with a capacity of 8,500. And it is all to honour this man, Yagan, a Noongar hero both feared and admired, killed and decapitated by English settlers in 1833. Over a century after his death, a group of Noongar elders set out to London to bring back his head or cart to be laid to rest in Yagan Memorial Park.
Well, Yagan is someone we should all reflect on and admire, as are other human beings. Yagan was seen as a figure that stood up and basically questioned and fought for his right as one of the leaders of this land, and therefore throughout history he's been represented as a warrior.
From design to development, Yagan Square proudly showcases Noongar culture and traditions. Aimed to bring people together as well as linking inner city Perth to Northbridge, visitors will feel Aboriginal presence and input.
We believe it's an inclusive place. We believe it's a place that's going to reflect the heritage of Wajak, Noongar people. It'll be under the iconic naming of Yagan and Yagan as Yagan Square.
Within the Noongar community, the significance of naming a place in Perth after an Aboriginal person has raised different viewpoints.
Yeah, there are some of us that would think that this is probably a noble gesture, but what does it really all mean? I'm of the other opinion that we need a place where Yagan can be a symbol for contemporary Aboriginal Australians living in Western Australia.
Because in our culture, we rarely, if at all, if ever at all, name anything, particularly a location, after a person.
As Perth awaits the new social hub in 2017, one may wonder, what would Yagan think if he saw this place named after him?
He'd be saying, well, where's my trees? Where's the water? Where's the lakes? What is this place? Because you'd recognise what's there when you're there and you're a part of. What we have to do is understand where we are at this moment in time. There's no way in the world that the people in Perth today will say, well, let's get rid of all our big buildings to put up more trees and we're all going to live how Aboriginals lived.
Ultimately, Yagan Square will be a place to celebrate a significant person in Noongar and West Australian history. It will honour the man who stood up for his beliefs and principles, no matter the cost. And for that, his legacy will always be kept alive.
Yagan Square is right in the middle of a very interesting building precinct. People will have to traverse and sit down in Yagan Square and they'll have to discuss who is Yagan. And certainly when tourists and others come to this country, they always want to have an Aboriginal experience. And our young people can now say, well, we'll give them a cultural experience, we'll tell them all about Yagan, and if governments get it right, we can actually perform and show off our culture in Yagan Square.
Now joining us in the studio is Mingli Wanjurri-McGlade, who was a part of the committee to bring back Yagan's head, and Karen Jacobs, who helped design Yagan Square. Welcome to the studio, Karen and Mingli.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to have you in here and talking about Yagan, obviously. And Mingli, what do you think of having a modern Yagan Square in the middle of Perth?
Okay, I'd just like to say before I say that we're talking about him and ancestors. I'd like to call on them to be with us because we're talking about him and be guided by what they might bring to us today. I very rarely talk without acknowledging them and this country and this land. So, well, I think it looks fantastic, and I think it'll be a great thing. There's probably other things that could be done there. I'm not, it's a long way off, but I think it's a congratulations to those people who've been involved.
And Karen, you were involved in the designing of the landscape of Yagan Square. What did that entail?
It was interesting because we had to go back and actually look at the lay of the land prior to colonisation and what that area was specifically used for by Whadjuk people. And it was very much a women's place, and it was a sacred ochre ground for women in that particular location. Had the highest quality of red ochre underneath where the Wellington train station currently has been constructed. So really going back and looking at the landscape before colonisation as a wetlands, as an ochre site, as a women's meeting place and talking place, and trying to reflect the modern day landscape against the landscape of what we once had.
And is there any acknowledgement of that women's area?
There is in the marketplace being called Bellbuck Place.
There you go.
Mingli, will the Yagan Square help the younger Noongar people know who Yagan is, what kind of warrior he was and what he stood for?
There needs to be some information around there somehow. Otherwise, many don't know. As you probably know, the schools are dependent on if the teachers are involved and supportive. Otherwise, there has to be some information there. There may be, hopefully there's some, just my suggestion then is, hopefully there's some days that elders can go there, and hopefully the schools will go there and they'll be able to go there and be told about it, because a lot of people do not know.
Karen, throughout the design of Yagan Square, there's actually no representation of Yagan himself. Can you tell us why that is?
So Yagan Square will not only portray Yagan in naming rights, but also those heroes of the day, such as Bellbuck, which the marketplace will be named after underneath, and a number of other different areas will basically represent the apical ancestors, and there will be pictorials of them.
Well, that's really great to hear, and your involvement, both of your involvement in this has been so important. So, thank you for joining us here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, great to be here.